Yes, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of the Klyph Notes podcast. This one I've been working on since 2023, I suppose. And it's a really cool conversation with someone who I got to know through someone who I know. Like that 6 degrees of separation type situation. And it's a really good conversation, man. And it's dope. Not just about the relationship that I developed with this individual and the project that we had a chance to work on, but just other things that he's working on. And there's some really cool things that are coming up and stuff that I definitely want you to know about and actually go check out if you are in the Portland metro area, man. Before we get into that, just to let you know some of the things that are coming up, you can check me out. I'm recording this on the 25th of February. If you're listening to this right now, then know that tonight, No Request is going down. Me and the homie DJ Ambush. It's Dilla Soul, man. We are celebrating J Dilla during Dilla Month. And De La Soul, rest in peace, True Boy. It's going to be a great night, man. You know what it is. No request. It's not a party. It's a vibe. Come through. No cover. We're just going to vibe and have a good time, man. That's going down at the White Eagle Saloon on North Russell, February 25th. Also, check me out on XRAY FM. Welcome to the neighborhood on the Numberz with the Rhythm. Let's get into this interview, man. So like I said, man, I had a chance to build with this gentleman last year. We worked on a great project together that I was able to gift to DJ OG1 during Portland Hip Hop Week, celebrating the 50th anniversary of hip hop, the 7th anniversary of Mic Check. Had a chance to sit and chop it up with the homie, Ben Boutros. And we did it live at Benchmark. Video is coming, but yo, check out this audio right here. Support for the Klyph Notes podcast comes from Akepele Apparel, an idea born from a love of hip-hop, funk, and soul music and its surrounding cultures. With fashion being a huge visual part of the cultures, they've created expressive images to pay homage, invoke nostalgia, and showcase the elements that make up the lifestyle and cultures of these genres. Akepele, apparel for the music lifestyle. For more information, check out akepele.com. That's AKEPELE.com.
Yeah, this is exactly what this bench is for. Having conversations and connecting.
Exactly. I love it. Yo, we're back with another episode of the Klyph Notes podcast, man. And it's really dope to be able to sit and have this conversation here at this beautiful space, and a lot of things to talk about and share and get into with my very special guest, Ben Boutros.
Hello, everyone.
Bro, like, you know, because we're here, I really want to start talking about this space, man.
Sure.
Talking about Benchmark. First of all, can you tell me and tell all the listeners what is Benchmark and how this all came to be?
Sure. So Benchmark's really, it's a creative space that myself, Robert McCullum, and Ian Maisie wanted to create for the Portland creative community. Mm-hmm. We're all kind of in the creative scene here. We all have our own creative practices and businesses. And we always, as creative entrepreneurs and just starting out, struggled finding platforms to really express our story, tell our stories, express our products, and get it seen and out there. Like we were doing the markets and things like that, and we found that they're overcrowded. You know, there's a certain consumer that comes through, you get lost in it. So we really wanted to create a platform that was by creatives for creatives, and really focused on the vendor first. So that's kind of where it came from. Was just, how do we build a place to create a creative hub in Portland? There's so much creativity in the city, and like across so many different practices. I mean, you've got like product creatives, you got places like Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, Lululemon, you know, all that bring in a lot of talent from across the world.
Right.
You've got amazing chefs and culinary, you've got amazing musicians and the music scene, furniture makers and artists, like they're all here, but they're so either locked up in these spaces like Nike and Adidas, or just isolated in their own creative circles. That there's not a lot of cross-pollination between them. So our goal and our space is to like cross-pollinate between all these creative practices, and give a platform for people to tell their stories and show what they can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so dope, man. So I'm not a Portland native. I've lived here for 30 years. So I've lived here longer than I've lived anywhere else. And it's one of the things that I have found just in the way that I've been able to move through the city is that, as you said, there is so much great talent here in Portland. And we get an opportunity to see people come into the city because of the companies that you mentioned and for other reasons. And they are looking for, like, you know, where are the creative spaces in Portland? I'll never forget. I was at a show, I think I was at the Star Theater, and it may have been I remember who was performing, but there was somebody, and she was like, where's all the black people at? You know, and those sorts of conversations where people who aren't necessarily familiar with the city, to create a space like that, like this, where that question, to a certain degree, not just in terms of people of color, but in terms of that, can be answered. Has that part resonated with you? Like, you guys might, like, what you're doing, this is the potential to be a huge thing, man.
I mean, it's a big driver to what we're doing. Like, all three of us aren't Portland natives either. I mean, I come from Australia. My background is Egyptian. Robbo's from the East Coast. Ian's also from the East Coast. We all have very different backgrounds, very different cultures that we come from.
Yeah.
And it's like, it exists here in Portland, but people don't see it.
Yep.
And that's really like, we need to create a space where people can see that.
Right.
And bring that together here in Portland so that people don't think it's just like homogenized whiteness of Portland.
Right.
So we really like, that was a key driver of like why I wanted to create this, so we could bring all that talent, diverse talent, into one area, but also to bring outside inspiration into Portland. So it wasn't just about being able to like showcase Portland talent. It was be able to inspire Portland talent by bringing in outside creative from across the world and across the country. So we also have, like, even though a lot of our partners here are from Portland, we have one from Argentina, we have from San Francisco, like we have a lot of other vendors and creatives who come from other countries and other areas. We have from Africa, Free the Youth as well, from Ghana. So we're really trying to like create a diverse palette of like not just who's here in Portland, but who we can showcase from across the globe.
I love that, man. I love that, the idea of just bringing people together. So when we think about that, when it comes to you, Ian and Rob, like, how did you guys come together as a collective? Like, where did that come from?
So Robbo and I, we worked together at Addy, like, I guess 10 years ago, I guess, is when we first met. So we were working together at Addy in Apparel for basketball. And then we both left and started doing our own thing. Robbo has Roots and Rooftops, which really specializes in like accessories and bags and for like the everyday, moving through the everyday life. I do furniture with Bennu, so I do a lot of like woodworking and home goods. And so we both had our own creative endeavors, and we were doing a market end of 2022. And we're both sitting there, and it was a big market and a lot of people coming through, and it was a holiday market. But we're both like, this isn't it, man. This isn't it. Like, this is not where we should be. This is not how we should be doing it. And then Ian came through, who Robbo knew, and was like, had the exact same thoughts, like, this isn't it. You've got to be doing this better. So that's kind of where like us three got together, and it's like, how can we do this better? How can we do this different? And it started out originally as like, well, why don't we just do a different market concept and like, you know, pop up 3 times a year and kind of do it that way. And as we started going down that road more, it was like, how's that going to really affect or change anything? Like, there's a ton of markets here. We can like do it differently. We can bring in like different kinds of entertainment and different ways of setting it up, but it's still just like a moment and then it's gone and people miss it. So it's like, we need to have something that's more permanent, that's more of a space that we can do retail, that we can do events and host events in, and then we can have showcase like gallery and artwork. So that's really where it flipped into like, all right, let's find a space to bring all that together.
Right. And such a dope space in terms of the layout, and just the aesthetic of the space is so cool. So for those who are listening to the podcast and, you know, versus those who may be watching the podcast. Can you talk about some of the items that are here?
Sure. So we'll start out. This space was completely a blank slate when we came in, completely empty. None of this existed except for the white walls, whitish walls, to paint it. So in a month and a half, basically, we built out this whole space from scratch. Using my skills from being a woodworker and furniture designer, I basically like designed and built the whole space. So we really wanted to use materials that were specific to the Northwest. And also had like, when you walked in, there was like an aroma to it that you knew this was Portland. When you walked in, but it was Portland in a new light. So cedar was a big part of like bringing that to life. So the way we built out the space was like, we wanted to build it as a blank canvas, but we wanted to bring in elements of like what you would expect to see in the Northwest, which is like wood and cedar and things like that. So we designed all these pods as a blank canvas that each vendor could then come and set it up to how they would represent themselves. But it still was curated and cohesive so that the whole space worked together. It wasn't like just, you know, random things going in. And then we wanted to really think about like, how would people congregate in here? How can we get people to connect in here and stay in here? And that's when I was like, this idea of the bench. And it's like the bench is a place where it's like 3 or more people come together to have a conversation. It's also a place where you elevate yourself in order to get your voice heard. You know, so if you're at a rally or something like that, you're going to get on a park bench, you know, and you're going to address a crowd. So it was really around this idea of like, let's censor it around the idea of the bench. And that's where kind of the name benchmark then started to evolve from. Because it was like setting a new standard within the industry through this idea of like connection and elevation.
That's so dope. That's so dope.
So that's really how the space then really started to come together. And then we really wanted to keep in with like the wood tones together with the white and really keep it clean to let the artwork and the products and everything that's in here shine. So that it wasn't distracting from people's artwork, essentially.
Got you. So we're recording this conversation in early 2024. When did Benchmark open?
November 23.
So in that amount of time, I know that there's been some events I've had an opportunity to come through when things were really just kicking off. What, just in that short amount of time, what has been the impact that you've seen thus far?
It's, I mean, definitely in the neighborhood, I think we've seen the people that have come through have been like, wow, like, place like this is needed. You know, like, this is refreshing to see, especially with like, there is like a lot of night people that live in this neighborhood. Slab Town's right there. The neighborhood we're in is like, it's a great neighborhood for traffic and people coming through. And it's like, so there's like a lot of creatives who are in the area and they come through and it's like, this space is needed. This space feels like, it feels right. It feels like this is what has been missing. Especially here on the west side, bringing in some of like that culture and some of that creative juice into this area. So we've definitely started to see like an impact on the neighborhood from that aspect. But you know, we're still starting out as well. Like it has only been 2.5, 3 months. So we're still getting the word out. We're still trying to like, you know, announce to people we're here. Come check it out. Come see what we're doing. Come partner with us. You got an idea. You got a show. You got you know, a creative endeavor that you want to like talk about. Come partner with us because like that's what we're here for. So the journey is just beginning, and like we're just only starting to scratch the surface of where it can go.
I love that because of some of the work that I have an opportunity to do with some of the local radio stations, including the Numberz and XRAY FM, and you know, the idea of being a platform for individuals, providing a voice for individuals. You know, when I started doing radio, it was a time where people weren't maybe necessarily taking advantage of some of the social media platforms and this, that, and the third. And now seeing how people do take advantage of it, one of the things that, and you know, take with a grain of salt, but one of the things that I think we have missed is we've missed this. We've missed literally being in the same space with one another, right? Because I can throw up a post on something and say, hey, but there's nothing like sitting down and literally being in the same space and having conversations. And, you know, science even teaches us the impact of having communication, one-on-one communication, or group communication. So I love the fact that you folk have created a space even just for that part. And really excited for people to learn of it and then take advantage of it. Before we get too much further, you know, we talked about where it is. You want to let folk know exactly where Benchmark's at so they can come through?
Sure, absolutely. So we're located on the corner of 23rd and Lovejoy, right opposite Good Sam Hospital.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, we're right in the cut of 23rd. You know, come. We have free coffee on the weekends.
There you go.
So come through, have a cup of coffee. We've got chess boards. Come play a game of chess.
Yeah.
We really want people to just come in and hang out. So yeah, we're right here, and there's plenty of things around to check out as well. So,
No doubt. So I want to go back a little bit to how I learned about you. So DJ Ambush, executive director of the Numberz, is just like the homie. He's, you know, I have an opportunity to DJ with him as a no request DJ, shameless plug on my podcast. But when the Numberz was had a space in the Portland Art Museum before they did a remodel, Ambush has this desk that houses a mixing console that he has. And I was looking at this, it's like, man, that is so dope. And he was kind of taking me around in the different features of the desk and was just so taken with it. And he kind of shared the story of when he met someone and had this idea for the desk and had him custom build it. Fast forward probably a couple of years, I reached out to him and I was like, yo, that desk that you had made, who was that? And he gave me your name. And in 2023, I did an event and wanted to do something very special for, as a gift, a show of recognition for DJ OG1, who was one of the founders of Portland Hip Hop Week. And reached out to you when you were kind enough to take some time and sort of brainstorm with me. And I had this idea of doing a record crate and kind of, you know, for me, it was like, bro, this is what's in my brain. I don't know how to make it happen. And you, like, yeah, I can do that. And what you put together, Ben, just like you above and beyond my expectations. You know,
appreciate.
Where does that come from? Like your creativity. Like, what's the story behind that?
I mean, for me, like my creativity is driven a lot with like collaborating with people. I love like collaborating and working with people because it just brings different perspectives and point of views to the table. And that's where I see like my creativity then start to like flourish. I've always like just grown up being within that environment. My dad was like an artist, part-time, well, on the side artist, as well as like doing his scientific job at the uni. So it's always kind of been like in the family to have like a creative outlet. And so, you know, I went down and I was like studying graphic design. I did that at uni, and then I started getting into like apparel and product design as my job. So it's always been like part of what I do and who I am. It's like, it's the only way I know how to operate is through like a creative lens. You know, you ask me to do anything like mathematical or logistical or like organization, is like, no, I'm not gonna touch it. But it's like, so it's comes from like, for me, it's a desire of like problem solving, and always trying to figure out how to like bring something to life. So, you know, when someone comes to me with like essentially a problem, right, saying I need this solution, I need this is what I need to get, that's the problem. It's like, I'm going to work with them to find the solution, and that's what drives me to like continue to do it, because it's like, okay, let's figure out how to get this done.
No doubt.
Yeah.
You have, you know, when we get to see some of the work that you've done, even talking about the design of the space and some of the pieces that you've done, I would say, to me, I would say that you definitely have a style that you know, I think your creativity, it has a style. Is that something that you worked towards, or was that just happened?
I mean, I think like it took me a long time to pinpoint where it came from. And like how it developed, but doing like furniture and like doing my own creative endeavor, I think that's where I started to realize it, because while I was doing it, it was always kind of through the lens of like a brand or a company or something like that.
Right.
So it was always kind of tainted in that way. But once I started doing it for myself, it was like I was drawing a lot from my own heritage and my own Egyptian heritage. And like the culture that I grew up in, the history that like, you know, Egypt has.
Yes.
So it was a lot like, I always realized that I was kind of like looking at like ancient Egyptian forms and architecture and hieroglyphics and patterns and things like that to kind of, that informed a lot of my aesthetic and like the style of where I went into. But I was mixing it with like, you know, brutalism or mid-century modern or something, you know, so other aesthetics. So a lot of it has always been drawn from my own like Egyptian heritage. Yeah.
I mean, and how dope is that, man? Because you know, as you share that, the idea that there's, you know, we can appreciate the beauty and the quality of the art, and I can speak personally from the work that you and I had an opportunity to do together. But then there's so much, there's like another layer to it. If you choose to, you get an opportunity to tell that story through the work that you're doing. Is that something that you've thought about, or have you leaned even further into that to spark conversations about your cultural heritage?
Yeah, it's definitely a big part of even like my brand, Benu, the name and the logo, it's all ancient Egyptian mythology.
Okay.
So the Benu bird was, it was the ancient Egyptian deity for rebirth and regeneration. So it was like, you know, for the springs, for the Nile floods, it would fly over and bring the floods that would then regenerate the farmlands and bring fertilization to the land. So the whole concept behind the name was like, I was looking at using materials that were sourced from either like sustainable practices or was upcycled from all pieces of furniture. So even like, you know, when I build a furniture, all my home goods and all my small pieces are offcuts and scraps from that. So it was, that's really where like the idea of like Benu came from. Was to like base it in the Egyptian heritage to tell that story.
That is so dope, bro. So let me ask you this, man, because oftentimes when I have an opportunity to do interviews with recording artists, you know, I say like, if you've got an album that you just released or you know, several projects, is there one that stands out to you? Specifically, like when somebody creates an album, right? Like you have a favorite joint off of that. At this stage of your creative process, Ben, is there a piece that you like? Yo, I like this one right here.
I mean, I'm gonna say. So you mentioned the desk for Ambush earlier. That was one of my first commissioned pieces.
Okay.
When I first launched the company.
Okay.
And it was a very, I'm still probably, it's probably one of the most proud of it, because I was like, I had just not just started getting into working, I had just started getting into fine woodworking. In terms of like figuring out joinery. I got like all the tools to be like, I'm gonna get serious about this. You know, so I like invested a lot into the tools and like using really good woods. And Ambush was like, I need a desk that can hold 100+ pound mixing thing that's DA big, but I also want it to be see-through and I want to be able to access it and work on it as a desk. So I was like, man, this is like, this is such an engineering challenge to figure out, because there's so much weight and so many moving parts to it. So that was like, it was awesome, because it really like, it taught me a lot out the gate. Like I had to like really cut my teeth on that and like deliver something that was like, hits all these specifications. So that one was like, that was a good one. That was like, I was really proud of that. And then I think honestly this space as well, you know, like there's one thing from building a single piece of furniture. It's another thing when you're like trying to think about a whole space. And how that works together, from the furniture to like the displays to everything that's happening in here. So that was again like another stretch of like figuring out like, okay, yes, I can build furniture, but how do I build a space, design a space, you know, and a space that like people want to like be in and is functional. So yeah, this was definitely another one that was like a proud moment.
And how dope is it for you to like be able to walk in here and be like, yep, this is what I envisioned, and And here it is.
Yeah, I mean, and it, you know, it's also comes down to like having the great partners with like Ian and Robbo, and working through like how's this going to work, and like them trusting the vision, and like also questioning things to push back. So you know, it's like it's the team that you have around you that is really like drives you further. And that's why, like going back to earlier, it's like that's why I love to collaborate with people, because it's like it's going to push what you think is the way to do it. And again, going back to the reason for this space is so that individuals who are working on their own thing now have a community to push what they're doing. You know, and a community that they can trust to do that.
Let's talk just a little bit more in depth about that. So what does that look like for a creative? I mean, we see I see books in here. I see merchandise in terms of clothing, and you know, some really cool bags, and like really creative pieces. The basketball plant holders are just dope. You mentioned it's a place that people can come and play a game of chess. Like the chess pieces are amazing. So you know, somebody's listening to that and they're saying, okay, that sounds really cool. I want to be a part of that. I consider myself a creative. So then what's this? How do they tap in? How do they become a part of this?
I mean, honestly, it's just like reach out. Let's have a conversation. What is it? What's the creative endeavor or the creative practice that you're working in? Is it like, are you an artist and you want to need a space for a gallery showing? You know, then let's talk about like that. Do you design and make product and you want a space to be able to like sell that? Let's talk about what that is and how that can look like. Do you do workshops? Do you have a music event and you want to like, you know, have a listening party? However it is, like your creative outlet or your creative practice, it's like, let's find a way to make that like you be able to tell your story. So it's honestly like we are so open to people just like reaching out, hitting us on Instagram, coming through the space, email, whatever it is, just to start a dialogue and see like, what are you thinking? Let's work together and see how we can make it happen.
So dope, man. So as we move through these winter months and get into the spring and the summer, and people will have an opportunity to kind of be out a little bit more, because it is so beautiful here when the weather's nice. I mean, it's beautiful year round. When the weather's nice, it's really, really beautiful here.
I'll give it when there's nice. Year round is a tough call, but when the weather's nice.
What do you guys, you know, as a team, what do you guys have planned that you can share?
Sure.
You know, as we move further into the spring and summer 2024.
So we definitely have a lot of shows that we're starting to plan coming up here from the next couple of months, March through to April. There's some like gallery shows. There's some local art shows. Artists who are doing some shows. We want to start building something outside where people can sit when the weather gets good. You know, sort of bodega style, where people can sit down, play a game of chess, play some checkers, backgammon. So have like a little like bench thing going on there. So definitely getting people to be like not just in the space, but like being able to sort of be around the space. And then looking at like partnering with people who may have some like hike ideas, you know, bike ideas, things like that, to really start getting people outdoors, but having this as kind of like the meeting spot to start and sort of finish at. So we've got like, you know, a lot of plans of being indoor, outdoors as the weather starts to get good. That's going to be dope, man. Because there is so much, the outdoors here are great. So now you have this individual who says, oh, like I heard about Benchmark, and I'm not really an artist, I'm not really a creative, but I am someone who just loves community. And maybe I'm someone who has an opportunity through whatever means to just support and help. Like what does that look like? I mean, we're open to it like that. We are for like the creative community, but we're also for like the broader community. And if someone has like creative community contacts, you know, and whether that be for, you know, something that's not even in the creative realm, but can help support those endeavors, let's talk. Let's connect with us, you know, and let's see where it goes.
That's what's up.
Man. It's so you know, we're not just, we want to be for Portland community in general, to support and uplift the creative community.
So kind of that sort of a I'm looking out now. I'm looking at 5 years down the road. I'm looking at 2029, 2030. You know, what do you see for Benchmark?
Branches.
Yeah.
You know, interstate, maybe even international spaces for Benchmark. Event planning.
Yeah.
Hosting and building bigger events for cities, for Portland.
Yeah.
Outside of just this space.
Yeah.
You know, think things like South by Southwest and those kind of things to really like build it on a bigger scale and partner across the city and multiple cities.
So dope, man. So dope. Listen, bro, I again, the organic growth of anything I think is beautiful. You know, you share the story of how the partnership came to be. It's just, you know, cats doing what they love, and it grew into this. You know, when I think about my relationship with you, how that just, you know, to be where you are right now, and the people who will come in and see the spot, and I'm really excited to see it grow and to see, you know, where it goes. But I think more than anything else, not more than anything else, but just as big, what you share, the idea of, you know, come in and bring your ideas to what we have right now, and how that can water and feed this and help it grow to the next level. I mean, how beautiful is that? I
mean, I think that's the thing that a lot of creatives also like. I mean, you know, come up against it, and I think it's a general thing for creatives is like, you can get in your own head, and you can like have a lot of self-doubt, and you have an idea, and it's like, well, I don't know how to get that started. Like, you know, the questioning starts coming in. We wanted to be the space to help you like overcome that questioning and like push through that and support that and you know, let that grow. So it's like, don't be afraid to come and talk to us. Like, you know, that's what we're here for. And that's what we want to build.
I dig it, man. It's so funny that you say that. There's an artist, somebody who I've known for a number of years, who reached out to me, who also does radio, and he asked that question. He's like, bro, like, how do you, you know, how do you keep doing? How do you keep going? And for you to be able to say that this is a space that can happen, there are so many people who run into that, and I think when you're in your space, you can feel sort of like, oh, I'm the only person dealing with this, or I don't know where to go to help me get out of that funk, whether it's the writer's block, whatever the case may be, right? Again, I just can't, as you share more and more about what the vision is for this place, I can't say how dope it is, two, how needed it is. And I just, you know, want to use my platforms to let the community locally, and then as far reaching as my platforms may be, let them know like that this is here, and tap in. And the invitation has been given to come be a part of it.
That's it. Come check it out. Come talk.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's
open.
Up. No doubt. Benchmark is here, man. Ben, listen, bro. Like, I feel very grateful to be in your circle of influence. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you coming through.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, whatever platforms I have are definitely available, and just really looking forward to continuing to build with you and Rob and Ian and the whole collective, bro.
Thank you, man. Thanks for coming through. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. So this is the spot, y'all. Come through, check out Benchmark, man. This is another episode of the Klyph Notes podcast, man. Real quick, I definitely got to shout out Akepele Apparel for their continued support of the Klyph Notes podcast. And last but never ever least, big ups to the homie Theory Hazit for creating the official theme song to the Klyph Notes podcast. Available everywhere you get your podcasts, also on the XRAY FM podcast network, the Numberz podcast network, and at klyphnotes.com. All right, y'all. Subscribe. I got to say that. I'll be forgetting to say that. Subscribe, like, and share, and comment, and rate, and the whole nine. All right, y'all. Until next time, y'all be blessed.